Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack's at Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
We're back. We're back. Hi. Hello. It's a 2-a-day today. Today's Thursday, October 16th, 2025, and there will be a zero tolerance policy today. If you haven't heard about Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime being stalked for a very long time, she did a 9-hour stream about it yesterday. The trolls are out in full force. They will be prosecuted, and there will be a zero tolerance policy after what just happened on the stream that I did a little while ago. It's revolting. It is vile. And people out there hiding behind fake names are now going to be prosecuted. If I have to lead the charge on that, I will. What happened to me is nowhere near what happened to Lauren, but it can't be tolerated anymore. This is the end of the ride for a lot of people, the end of the road. And the noose is tightening around the necks of a lot of people. And I think that's why we're seeing an uptick. That's why we're seeing an uptick in this right now, because the noose is tightening around the necks of many, many people, especially in Massachusetts. So, you want to go? Yes, Matthew Farwell was in court today. His court appearances have been adjourned many, 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 many times. I think today was the first time he was in court. Maybe ever, because he kept getting adjourned and adjourned and adjourned. His trial date has been set for 1 year from now, October 5th of 2026. For those of you who don't know, Matthew Farwell has been charged in federal court, federally, with the murder of Sandra Birchmore, who was pregnant at the time that her body was found in Canton in 2021, right? It was 1 year prior to the murder of John O'Keefe. I want to say it was February 2021. Sandra Birchmore was 23 years old, pregnant, found in her Canton apartment in her bedroom with a strap hanging from a doorknob. Canton PD, first on the scene, quickly ruled the S word that I can't say on YouTube after what happened with Ellen Greenberg. I can't say that word. Quickly cleared by guys like John Fanning. Matthew Farwell was a Stoughton police officer at the time. John Fanning, I think, had also been a Stoughton police officer at one time. Matthew Farwell met Sandra Birchmore when she was like 10, 11, 12 years old because she was a member of the Police Explorers program because she wanted to be a police officer. And so Sandra Birchmore was groomed by Matthew Farwell and maybe even his twin brother and another guy named Robert Devine, who was also with Stoughton PD. And Matthew Farwell took the virginity of Sandra Birchmore when she was 15 years old had a long-term relationship with her, and then took her life, allegedly, because, innocent until proven guilty, in early February of 2021. Sandra Birchmore had laundry in the machine. She was planning a baby shower. She had ordered things from, I don't know, Amazon and other places like baby strollers and stuff. She had told Matthew Farwell that the baby was his, and she had been talking to him about putting his name on the birth certificate. And there were something like 32,000 or 36,000 messages between Sandra Birchmore and Matthew Farwell that were found on Sandra Birchmore's computer. And despite all of that, Canton PD and the MSP involved in the investigation, if you want to call it an investigation, of Sandra Birchmore's death, very quickly ruled it the word that begins with S. And it took the FBI to get involved while they were maybe investigating some other corruption in the state of Massachusetts, or maybe the investigation into the murder of John O'Keefe, or maybe some district attorney's office in Massachusetts. It took the FBI to come in and take a look. And finally, Matthew Farwell was arrested on federal charges of taking the life of a witness, because there's no such thing as federal murder charges. And so he has been sitting over there, and wherever they hold people in federal lockup, we call it Club Fed, once they're finally convicted, and they go away. And it keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. But today, there was actually a hearing, and the trial date was set for October 5th of 2026. And Ted Daniel tweeted earlier, thank you, Tiffany, a judge has set a January deadline for federal prosecutors to decide if they will seek the death penalty for Matthew Farwell. That is 96 days from now. Farwell is the former police officer accused of grooming and murdering Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child. Death penalty decisions must be presented to the Justice Department's Capital Review Committee and approved by the Attorney General. He says, and that was earlier today at 12:30 in the afternoon. And that, he's currently in Rhode Island in lockup. Thank you, Let Freedom Ring. See, you guys are very collaborative here. Very collaborative, as Hank Brennan would say. Because murder is a state charge. Murder is a state charge. But guess what? The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, they call it a Commonwealth, it's not a state, decided not to charge him with murder because, they still haven't. So the feds had to get him on, taking the life of a witness, because she was a witness to his grooming of her and taking her virginity at the age of 15. Now Marcy hasn't charged. Why would he? Why would he? No, 96 days. No, 96 days is not a long time. I don't think so. I don't think that's a long time at Wendy. Thank you, Deborah Gelsey, for gifting 10 memberships. You're very sweet. And she also says, again, someone needs to find out if the Farwell twins are related to Win Farwell in Brockton. He is a huge force in that town. Well, we've got a lot of armchair detectives here, Deborah. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure somebody will fall into that rabbit hole today. Find something. But it's a horrific story. And again, did the feds only become involved in this case because they were already there looking at something else in Massachusetts? Or, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Were they looking into the Sandra Birchmore murder and then stumbled upon the Karen Reed persecution and the lack of investigation into the murder of a Boston police officer named John O'Keefe, and or corruption in the DA's office, and or corruption in the Massachusetts State Police? Which came first? I guess we don't know. Oh, really? Marcy still says that Sandra did this to herself? It's mind-blowing how he always doubles down on his visit. Really? He said that recently? Yes, l'agent provocateur. It was the ultimate witness intimidation. That's what witness intimidation is. Or somebody putting a horse's head in your bed so you don't testify against them. Things like that. That's what witness intimidation is designed for. Or actually, the legislative history in Massachusetts is it was designed for victims of DV being threatened against testifying against their abuser. But, they're weaponizing it against Aiden Carney for, doing the journalism of knocking on the doors. And we just watched on the previous stream, doors being knocked on in the town where a man was just arrested 40 years later for the murder of a girl who was left her job at a roller rink in 1984. 3 other men were convicted and spent almost 20 years in prison and then were exonerated based on DNA. And they got something like $43 million from the county here on Long Island. And now they just arrested another guy who's been at it, who got away with it for 40 years. So guess what? There's no statute of limitations on murder. So there's a lot of people that may be looking over their shoulders for a very long time. And that may explain why all of these trolls are ramping up. Because they're getting scared, as they should. Mass said the way they screwed those 3 original defendants was awful. Right. Right. Hidden evidence. You're talking about on Long Island, right? Hidden evidence. Things went missing. Detective Volpe. Hold on. Keith, you're so sweet. You come on to every stream with your comment. Keep up the good work. Keith watching you from Chicago, Illinois. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Keith. It's about time I said hello to you because every stream you come and put that in the comments. Same thing every time. Keep up the good work. I love that. Thank you so much for watching from Chicago. And Karen says Governor Healy's doing nothing but honoring the MSP. Little Cupcake says, what Marcy did was witness intimidation. How do you think the young friends at Fairview felt about that pretrial one? Freddie says, I urge anyone wanting to learn more about Sandra Birchmore to watch old Turtle Boy videos and listening to the Case podcast. I also have an entire playlist on Sandra Birchmore too, so I would urge you to go watch my content. You can go wherever you want. Mizzy is also a big proponent. She's been covering the Sandra Birchmore case for many years, Justice for Sandra Birchmore. And Mizzy is a creator who's been doing it for a very long time, and she's relentless and she won't stop. She won't stop. Yeah, Kate Peters saying to Lindsay Gattani. Was it Kate Peter or was it Jennifer McCabe who said that to Lindsay Gattani? If you really feel bad for supporting Karen Reed, then you'll testify in the grand jury. I thought that was Jennifer McCabe that said that, Charlie Lynn, but I'm picking up what you're laying down. If you believe what they're saying. It was Jen. Yeah, it was Jen McCabe. Yep. Exactly, Dr. Trey. This is another case where her injuries don't match the alleged cause of the taking of her life, right? She had a fractured hyoid bone, which we know comes from strangulation. Oh, and also I forgot to point out, in case you weren't covering, if you're not familiar with the Sandra Birchmore case, Matthew Farwell's wife was in the hospital in labor at the time when he allegedly, because innocent until proven guilty, took the life of Sandra Birchmore. And then we find out later, recently, that the baby was not Matthew Farwell's. And it still has not been released whose baby it was, right? Yeah, those are real sunflowers. Aren't they nice? Got them at the supermarket. Here on Long Island, we have a lot of sunflower farms. Yeah, another case where the physics don't work, right? And there was a broken necklace on the floor next to her that they didn't find. You know, all the signs of, pointing to like wanting to live and stuff. Yeah, Dyson should sponsor me. It wasn't his baby. No, they released those results, Shelley, but it was like a quick thing, and then it's never been released because they originally they never tested the fetal tissue, right? We're very collaborative here, so you guys can help me. They never tested the fetal tissue, we thought originally, and then recently it came out that it was not his baby. And Jessica says, OMG, I want to know who the baby daddy was. That could answer a lot of questions. But he thought he was the father of the child because they had discussed it. Sandra's baby was not his baby, not his wife's baby. I'm sorry to confuse you. Sandra's baby was not his baby. And Boston Mass 781 says that means it wasn't his brother's either, right? Because they're identical twins, it'd be the same DNA. Was it Robert Devine's? I don't know. Because apparently all three of them had relations with her. But the reason that Robert Devine and the other Farwell brother were not charged is because she was an adult at the time. So there's that. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns on Matthew Farwell before we move on. I don't know if there's been any more filings, but if there has been more filings, I can get into the PACER system. Those documents are easy for me to get. Was it Proctor's baby? I don't know. Yeah, Makazi G says all he had to do was think that it was his, right? And also, remember, in Massachusetts, you can be charged with the murder of an unborn child because we just watched appellate arguments in front of the SJC for the case of Dennis Bateman, who has been in jail, in prison since 2007, and may actually be innocent for the, did I see the breaking news? Well, I, without telling me what the breaking news is, I didn't see any breaking news, Barbara. I don't know what breaking news you're talking. You gotta laugh or we're gonna cry. I think I do have the ADHD because I get so distracted by the chat that I forget what I was saying. We just watched the SJC arguments of Dennis Bateman, who's been in prison in Massachusetts since 2007, who may in fact be innocent, but he was charged, convicted of 2 counts of murder, one for his friend Brandy, who worked at the gas station, and one for her unborn baby because she was 7 months pregnant. I don't know who Jake Harrow is, so I'm sorry. I can't follow every single case, so I don't know who that is, Barbara. I'm sorry. But again, I'm trying to focus on what I'm trying to focus on today. And it's not going well for me so far. Oh, look, something shiny. I don't know. I don't know who Jake is. I don't know. Okay, if you want to go watch it somewhere else. I just don't care. I just don't care right now. I'm trying to focus on Massachusetts corruption. That's all I'm trying to do. I might have to pull the plug on this. Do you remember about a year ago? No, I'll tell you when exactly it was. It was January of 2024. How could I forget? That's when I first started talking about the Karen Reed case, when they first started coming for me. And they're not done coming for me. That's when I went off Twitter because I'm like, who does this? Who like allows people to attack them without being able to, put a stop to fake people behind fake names and all that kind of bullshit. And I started covering the Karen Reed case in January of 2024. I went on Court TV twice. Jennifer Coffendorfer was on Court TV with me, and she tried to make me look like an idiot because I thought that John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, and also that maybe John O'Keefe was attacked by a dog. And she tried to make me look like a fool. And after that, I was like, I'm not going on Court TV anymore because they just don't hire serious people to come on Court TV. And so then I found Garrett Wing, and I had Garrett Wing come on my show. Remember that? And so right around the same time is when this CDL scandal broke. And I did a show, and I had Brian from LTL come on my show. I've linked it below. It was in January of 2024. And we talked about it. And we went over I have the indictment here. It is 76 pages long. And we called it the CDL scandal. Okay. Commercial driver's licenses. It was a scandal. And there were 6 MSP troopers that were indicted in this scandal. I'm going to pull up the papers for you because a lot of you don't have time to go back and watch the old stream. So we covered this January of 2024. This is the United States of America versus Gary Cederquist, Calvin Butner, Perry Mendez, Joel Rogers, Scott Camera, and Eric Matheson. They were Massachusetts State Police troopers. And here's the counts. And these are federal charges, okay? There were 74 counts against these guys, including conspiracy to falsify records, conspiracy to commit extortion, honest services mail fraud, falsification of records aiding and abetting, false statements aiding and abetting, perjury, and forfeiture. There was a forfeiture allegation. And remember, Josh Levy was the acting U.S. attorney at the time. And it was Josh Levy who did a presser on this, and he announced it. And we watched the presser. And if you want to go back and watch it, it is in the show notes below. Okay. So Brian, I remember, and I had a great time going through this together and talking about this. And here's what they did. These guys who were in charge of the CDL, commercial driver's license testing. So you have to have a special license to drive an 18-wheeler in most states. I would say all states. And it's not easy to get a CDL. Does anybody in the chat, if you have a CDL, tell the other chatters what it's like to get a CDL. You got to do a test. You got to do a driving test. It's no joke. Okay. And these guys had a little scam going. They would trade things of value and just give out CDLs to employees of companies that needed CDLs. Okay. And to tell the truth, is driving an 18-wheeler right now. And that's why he or she listens to me. And we have another trucker in the chat. I think his name is still Truckers Against Tie Clips, because I made a tie clip joke one day and you guys change your usernames based on my jokes, which I love you so much for. And that is why often I say, like, look at the screen now, only if you're not driving an 18-wheeler or on scaffolding, because I don't want to be responsible for anybody getting in an accident, because I tell them to look at the screen or make a joke that could make them drive off the road. So it is no joke. It is a very difficult license to get. And with good reason, you need a hazmat endorsement, says the LawTube's most hated mod. And you have to keep up with all the regulations yearly, says Mary. Krista, thank you so much for tuning in from Canada. Krista Limited Edition says, I started traveling, got some gorgeous new luggage and protectors. I went to Cancun with Melanie Little. Luggage covers, please. Sending you so much love. You're the reason I started flying, buying the ticket to go to the show and really living. Oh, I love that so much for you. Buy the tickets, go to the shows. There's always a ticket. Go buy the ticket, go travel, make the memories. Make the memories. I am limited to the merchandise that Spread Shop provides. So whatever products they have, that is what I can, because it's a third-party vendor. It's not me that does it. I don't really know what a luggage cover is. If it's the thing that keeps popping up on my Instagram feed, it's like it covers your luggage and then it's stretchy so you can put something in between it, like a purse or something. I don't think they have those. I don't even think they have luggage tags. But I will go look at Spread Shop later and see. But that is a very new item if that is what you're talking about. Thank you for your very generous Canadian super chat. And you're awesome. And thank you for, wanting some merch. Deborah says, only people from Stoughton and Brockton, Easton, the Bridgewaters will understand who Win Farwell is. I need to know, and I can't find anything on it. Driving me nuts. He was a personal friend of my mom back in the 80s. Thank you, Deborah. If anybody knows, then just tag Deborah Gelsey in the chat, and maybe you can help her out. And thanks for your 20. Oh, you changed your name. Crushing Capacity. Aren't you formerly Truckers Against Tie Clips? Has been here for 14 months and says, the trolls are just confused. They can't choose whether to hate you because you're pretty, because you're smart, or because you're right. Oh, that's why I love you. That's why we've been together for 14 months. Thank you. Chrissy says, I'm watching you for a while now. Love your knowledge. Thank you for tuning in from New Zealand. And thank you to Betsy for gifting 5 memberships. Always a very generous and kind contributor to the channel. And I don't know, is my chat frozen? Oh no, it's just behind. I'm just behind on my phone. Okay. Did you get that one, Scott? Did you get Mikey RRR? Does that mean that he's been here for like a week? Oh, Mikey RRR wants to know why I'm such a raging bitch. Mikey, we'll have your IP address by tomorrow. So be on the lookout. Bolo, Mikey RRR, and your other 3 friends that were in the last stream. But I do give you props for hanging out on to subscribe to this channel for a whole entire week before you came in here to stalk me. Congratulations on your Patience. You think I'm a raging bitch? You ain't seen nothing yet, motherfucker. I'm sorry if your kids are in the room. Yeah, I know. I did watch Lauren's stream. I spoke with Lauren this morning. We're on a mission from God now. We're coming for you. We're not putting up with it. And we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. Aren't I on a 1 week waiting period? I thought I was on a week. Hold on. If not, I'll put it up to a week. Hang on. Oh, it was only for 1 day. So that guy actually waited a whole day. Sorry, but if you haven't been subbed for a week, you're not going to be able to chat today. And I'm not making exceptions because, again, if I make an exception for one person, I'm going to have to make an exception for everybody. And I'm not fucking dealing with it anymore. Okay? Yeah, now it says 7 days. It only said 1 day. Okay? Have fun on Block Island. It's lovely this time of year. And you're going to, all your disgusting, vile friends are there. So you're going to have a great time, Mikey. RRR. Okay. Here we go. Thank you, Betsy. So here's what these guys did. Cederquist, Butner, Mendez, Rogers, and another guy known as the Trooper Conspirator were employed by the MSP. Cederquist was a sergeant, and all the other guys were troopers. And what they did was they would trade things for the commercial driver's licenses that they would just give out like candy. But like the stuff that they traded them for was crazy. Like I think they'll say some of the things here, like driveways and plunge pools and Voss water and they had a whole scam going, a whole scandal that they had going. And look where they tested out of, Stoughton. So the skills test, so they had to do a skills test. So here it is. Here's the federal regulations that determine the requirements for the CDL skills test. The first segment was you had to do a vehicle inspection, and the examiner would test the applicant's knowledge of the vehicle by asking them to identify and answer questions about various parts of the vehicle. The second part was a basic control skills test, and the examiner would test the applicant's ability to perform certain maneuvers in their test vehicle. And then they had to do a road test, and the examiner would test the applicant's ability to drive a commercial vehicle on an open roadway. The examiner sat in the passenger seat while the applicant drove the test vehicle. The skills test was offered at several locations in Massachusetts, including Stoughton. And these four guys mostly tested out of Stoughton during their daytime shift. And the Stoughton yard had an office trailer for the troops to use. So they wanted stuff for their trailer. They wanted things like fancy water and snacks. And that's what they had these employers trading them for. So let's see here. The conspiracy among them and the trooper conspirator to falsify records in CSTIMS, I guess that's where you have to put the records in when they pass, by entering passing scores for certain applicants, whether or not they passed. And that's what they did, allegedly. I mean, and they've got text messages. They've got all the stuff. I remember Brian and I doing like a reading of these text messages, and we made it funny because it was amusing at the time. This was before Karen Read's first trial. So this happened in January 2024, this indictment. And these are all the text messages. It was crazy. And it was like, it's so obvious. Like they had them dead to rights. And I remember them getting things like a plunge pool for somebody's wife, a driveway for another guy, landscaping, water, and all of this crazy stuff, right? So Cederquist went to trial in the spring, and he was convicted. And the reason I guess we didn't cover this was because it was right in the middle of Karen Reed's second trial. I think a couple of these guys pled out. Let me just read the article quickly here on wherever I found this. Boston.com. Is it Boston.com? And I'll just read it to you. I'll put it up on the screen. You like receipts. So Gary Cederquist was sentenced yesterday by a federal judge, and he's sentenced to 6 years. 6 years and a whole lot of restitution. So they're not playing over there in federal court. They're not playing. So here's Gary Cederquist, formerly of the Massachusetts State Police. There he is. He looks pretty scary, in my opinion. But the feds aren't playing with the MSP. So maybe some people out there ought to, I don't know, take notice. And this is from yesterday. Retired MSP sergeant gets jail time for commercial driver's license scheme. Mods, for everyone that you block today, make sure you screenshot the history of all their prior comments before you block them so that we have that for the IP address and subpoena. Thank you. Put simply, Gary Cederquist is the very embodiment of public corruption, prosecutors said. And there he is, leaving federal court in Boston in 2024. Carol Ann says, wow, they will love Gary in federal prison. Somebody says he looks like another Brian Albert. All right. A former Massachusetts State Police sergeant was sentenced to 6 years in prison Tuesday for masterminding a scheme to rig commercial driver's license tests in exchange for bribes that ranged from snacks and water bottles to a new driveway. Well, I mean, really, in his defense, Boss Water is, has a nice bottle anyway. Gary Cederquist, 60, of Stoughton, was one of 4 troopers charged in the state police CDL scandal in January of 2024. The only defendant to go to trial, he was convicted of dozens of federal charges earlier this year. Cederquist took bribes, extorted people, falsified records, and jeopardized the safety of everyone on the roads and highways of Massachusetts and beyond, prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memorandum. Put simply, Cederquist is the very embodiment of public corruption, they added. U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani sentenced Cederquist to 6 years in federal prison and 2 years of supervised release, also ordering him to pay a $30,000 fine, $18,300 in restitution, and a special assessment of $4,800. He will report to prison on November 25th. I wonder if it was worth it. Was he the one that got the plunge pool? I don't remember now. How well do you think he will fare as a former, now disgraced Massachusetts State Police sergeant in federal prison? Quote, I deeply regret the decisions that I made, letting down my family, my coworkers, current members of the state police, past members of the state police, and future members of the state police, Cederquist said in a Boston courtroom Tuesday, according to the Boston Globe. I'd like to say I'm sorry. Well, he'll be in protective custody, says Scott. As you know, there's no cameras in federal court, so unfortunately, there's no video of this. But he did say he was sorry. In their sentencing memo, prosecutors Adam Deitch and Christine Weikers said Cederquist demonstrated a willingness to trade his badge and police uniform for the oddest and greediest array of material goods: a new driveway, a snowblower, a mailbox, premium bottled water, and Swedish fish. Swedish fish have entered the chat. That's right. He got a snowblower too. And I remember talking about this because we were talking about the leaf blower, the snowblower. Are they connected? I I forgot about the Swedish fish. They needed snacks for their little, their little hut or whatever. They had a little trailer there. Prosecutors called for a 9-year prison sentence, arguing the punishment must reflect both the gravity of Cederquist's conduct as well as the terrifying potential consequences of what he did. Kevin Reddington, Cederquist's attorney, conceded the ex-trooper's misconduct was, quote, a serious blemish on an otherwise respectable law enforcement career. End quote. I can imagine. I wish is there video of Kevin Reddington anywhere saying this? First of all, Kevin Reddington is one of the best defense attorneys in Massachusetts. Okay. We watched him try the Harry Turk case, and he got Harry Turk the lowest conviction, pulled that rabbit out of a hat. He also represents Lindsay Clancy. He also represented Jennifer McCabe. And everyone who knows him says he's a great guy. He has also publicly said very nice things about me, so I'm going to return the favor. He actually, in open court, when they were trying to get a change of venue on the Harry Turk case, said, there is one YouTuber covering this case. Her name is Melanie Little. She's a New York attorney, and she has a lot of credibility. So it was very nice. And we played that one day. He's a busy guy. He's top notch. He's an affable fellow. He is. And I would have loved to see that clip of him saying this. So if anybody has it, email it to me. In a sentencing memo of his own, Reddington says Cederquist acknowledges that he had a duty to ensure the CDL candidates were safe and competent drivers. The former sergeant also knows that his failure to do so was a serious betrayal of public trust and, as the government has repeatedly argued, an endangerment to public safety, Reddington wrote. According to prosecutors, Cederquist conspired with subordinates in the state police CDL unit to trade passing test scores for bribes, ultimately turning the unit into a criminal enterprise. Cederquist, quote, utterly failed to uphold the values required for his position and violated the public's trust, prosecutors asserted, accusing him of demonstrating a core dishonesty that was shocking and inexcusable. Reddington, meanwhile, pointed to the decades that Cederquist served in law enforcement prior to take over the CDL unit in 2017. Well, when you got nothing, Kev, you got to grasp at the straws, the wet paper straws. The wet paper straws. I would love to invite Kevin Reddington to do an interview. I have thought about it, Mr. Yan Eddy, not to be confused with the real Mr. Yan Eddy. But he's got so many cases pending. I don't know what he'd be allowed to talk about. But I really would like to have him on if he wants to talk about Lindsay Clancy, because I need to know more about Lindsay Clancy. But I don't know if he's allowed to. There's no gag orders or anything. I don't know if he would. But you know what? I would like to talk about the Turk case. That's already been tried, that case. So maybe he would. Okay. This is a very serious, dangerous crime, right? Think about all the people out there driving 18-wheelers on your highways, Massachusetts, and across the country who don't have the proper licensing. And I remember around this time, I think, there had been a massive accident in New Hampshire involving an 18-wheeler. Do you guys remember that? I think there were a lot of fatalities, and we were wondering if it was one of these people that got the fake CDL. New Hampshire people might remember that. Reddington noted in his sentencing memo that Cederquist joined the Metropolitan District Commission Police in 1987, then became a trooper when that agency merged with the state police 5 years later. Thank you. That guy did have a Little Cupcake says that guy did have a valid CDL. But we were wondering, right, at the time? Thank you. They hit motorcycles. Right. And I think it was around the same time, right? Sturgis Reef says, I believe it was a car carrier that hit a bunch of motorcycles. Okay. Rainy Day says, yeah, that guy got let off, but he should have had his CDL license suspended, but Massachusetts RMV screwed it up. And then Little Cupcake said he had a previous incident that should have flagged his license for a different reason, if I recall correctly. And yes. See, it all comes back to me eventually. Kevin from South Boston says, are you open to interviewing other Kevins? You guys are funny. You guys do stuff to make me laugh because I'm really pissed off right now and I really need to laugh. So just say some funny stuff in the chat. All right. Moving on. Cederquist retired in January of 2024 and received a dishonorable discharge. Okay, well, tell me something, people. He retired in January 2024, but he got a dishonorable discharge. Does he still get to keep his pension at that point? Because, you know, I mean, he's been on the job since 1987. Does he still need to? Kevin from South Boston says, I got a lot to get off my chest. Oh my God, do you guys watch Loophole Lawyer? Loophole Lawyer is hilarious. I mean, his name is Vince, right? And he does these videos with AI and stuff. And oh my God, he did one yesterday of Peter Tragos. Like every time like Peter Tragos would touch his hair, he'd go in slow motion and put this crazy music with it. And he believes that Brian Higgins is responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. So he always says, you know, maybe someday the person who is responsible for John O'Keefe's death will be convicted. Brian Higgins. Like he's hilarious. He's hilarious. And that's just really reminded me of. I got a lot to get off my chest. See, he's funny. I don't know if there's help for a Swedish fish addiction, but I'll look into it for you, June. There might be a program. And it's not really him who's like, he has his face on the screen and he's very deadpan and he's on YouTube. Yes. His name is Loophole Lawyer. And he's very deadpan and sometimes he doesn't say anything, but it's the graphics say everything. And he does like great AI. I don't know who does his AI. And Kevin from South Boston says, Loophole Lawyer makes me self-conscious about my weight and my blood pressure. Not going to lie. Yeah. He's so funny. Go look him up later. And it just makes me laugh. And it's short videos and he is a real lawyer. Yeah. He's a real lawyer. Is he from New York? Because he sounds like a New Yorker. I mean, he's got a New York accent. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of other people's content, but I do. I've been watching it. It makes me laugh every time. With the stripper music. Yeah. Funny. He's from New York. All right, cool. I think, all right. It's satirical comedy. Yes, it is. So does he get to keep his pension? If he retired in January 2024, right when he got indicted, coincidentally. Oh my gosh. Wow. You kidding? How crazy. Okay. 300 miles to go. Crushing capacity. No texting while you're driving that 18-wheeler, please. Stay safe. Hope the weather's good. 300 miles. We'll get you there. Maybe not the whole 300 miles, but you know, I'll do what I can. I'm here for you. So I don't know if he gets to keep his pension, if he got a dishonorable discharge. Okay. While Cederquist did not follow several of his co-conspirators in making a plea agreement with prosecutors, so he decided to roll the dice and take it to trial. Well done, sir. Well done. Reddington noted the ex-trooper did not testify in his own defense and presented no evidence other than cross-examination. So he didn't take the stand and he decided to roll the dice and risk it. Clearly, the defendant was well aware and extremely remorseful of what constitutes the sad end of an otherwise respectable law enforcement career, Reddington wrote. It's always about the pension. Oh, I'm like, whose picture is that? That's the reporter's picture. All right, let's see what the Boston Globe had to say about this. Hang on. Well, now I'm curious, like, how long was the jury out? I got to do more. See, now I got to do a deep dive. And here it is. Former Massachusetts sergeant. This goes back to May 5th of 2025. We were neck deep in Karen Reed at that point, right? We were neck deep in Karen Reed. And that's why this sort of like flew under the radar. But this was Gary Cederquist, 59, of Stoughton, was convicted of nearly 50 charges. 50, count them. This was May 5th of 2025. A former Massachusetts State Police sergeant was found guilty Friday of taking part in a scheme to take bribes, including a new snowblower and a driveway, in exchange for giving passing scores on commercial driving tests. Gary Cederquist, 59, of Stoughton, was convicted of nearly 50 charges, including 2 counts of conspiracy to commit extortion, 1 count of extortion, and 6 counts of honest services mail fraud. Oh, sorry, Kevin from South Boston. I'm sorry. Haas Long, Long was the jury out. Long. I don't know if Reddington is free, Karen Reed. I mean, he can't speak openly on the case because he represented Jennifer McCabe. I'm not going to judge people by, the clients that they have. So, come on, let's not be silly. Don't be like them. Don't be like them. You know who I'm talking about when I say them. Don't be like them. Long was the jury out. Let's see. Oh, golden was the keyword. Do you remember? It was golden. Golden was the keyword. It says, even when the drivers failed the skills test, the trooper passed them and communicated they had done so with a text and the code word golden. Remember golden? Golden handshake. Some troopers even joked in the text messages how badly a driver had performed on the test, according to the indictment. 4 of the 5 have pleaded guilty and are awaiting sentencing. Okay. So 4 of them pleaded guilty. And when I tell you what they got, I think they got like 18 months. This guy went to trial. He got 6 years plus 2 years of supervised probation. And he's going away. I think in federal prison, 6 years is 6 years, right? I don't think there's any time off, for good behavior or any early release or anything. I'm pretty sure 6 years is 6 years. It is never a good day when a member of law enforcement is convicted of a crime, especially when it's a crime that compromises public safety, U.S. Attorney Leah Foley said. Gary Cederquist chose bribery and extortion over his oath to protect the community which he was sworn to serve, she said. His greed put the public at risk when he devised a scheme to issue commercial driver's licenses to applicants who had never taken a real test to operate heavy commercial vehicles on the roads and highways of Massachusetts. And the Principal Assistant Inspector General for Investigations with the DOT said, the verdict sends a strong message to those who may be motivated by greed to abuse their positions. They will be met with the full force of the criminal justice system. And then it says, the bribery scandal is the latest trouble to hit the MSP, or Massachusetts State Police. 46 current and retired troopers who worked for the now disbanded Troop E, which patrolled the Massachusetts Turnpike, were implicated in a scheme in which they collected overtime pay for shifts they either did not work or did not complete from 2015 until 2017. Authorities said, often they said, the troopers issued falsified traffic tickets to make it appear as if they had been on duty. The bribery scandal also raised concerns about the integrity of a licensing system set up to certify commercial drivers because a majority of those taking the test in Massachusetts fail. The latest data from 2022, federal officials said, showed a pass rate of 41%. That also tells you how hard the test is, right? It's hard. But I mean, if you have some Swedish fish, bring a case of Swedish fish and maybe, just maybe, you could have gotten one, but not now because Gary Cederquist is going to federal prison. In 2019, the system came under fire after Vladimir Zhukovsky, a commercial truck driver, crashed into a group of motorcyclists in northern New Hampshire, causing the death of 7 motorcyclists. See? That's what I was just talking about, but it wasn't around the same time. It was in 2019. Zhukovsky's commercial driver's license should have been revoked in Massachusetts at the time of the crash because of a drunken driving arrest in Connecticut about 2 months earlier. Connecticut officials alerted the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, but Zhukovsky's license wasn't suspended because of a backlog of out-of-state notifications about driving offenses. Wow. What a mess. You wonder why I call it Massachusetts? It's a mess. It doesn't say how long the jury was out. It's not giving me the information that I want. But there he is. He's going in. 6 long ones. Let me go back to, I think the Globe article talked about how much time those other guys got. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, please. All right, so Cederquist yesterday only went to go to trial. He's going to get 6 years in prison, $30,000 fine, restitution of $18,300. I thought I read somewhere else that the guys who pled guilty got like something like maybe 18 months. Okay, hold on. Oh, you gotta love the Boston Globe, right? Hold on, let me just put it in reader mode. This reminds me now of my reading of the text messages. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Remind me, this judge, Indira Talwani, was she involved in something else, some other federal case that we covered in Massachusetts? I don't think it was the Jessica Leslie sentencing, but maybe it was this one, but I don't remember. The name is familiar to me. So Indira Talwani, the judge, is going to allow him to remain free until he reports to prison on November 25th. And then there was an example of some of the text messages here. Cederquist was convicted by a federal jury in May of 48 counts of conspiracy, extortion, honest services, mail fraud, falsifying records, and making false statements. He was acquitted of 9 additional charges, including allegations that he extorted a snowblower and a granite mailbox and post as part of the corrupt licensing scheme. I mean, what's the value of a granite mailbox? No, I haven't seen Howie Carr from today, and I do not have. Let me see if it's in my inbox. I don't have a subscription to the Herald, so if somebody wants to screenshot it for me and send it to me that way, or put it into PDF form and send it to me. Does it have to do with this specifically, Howie Carr today? But I would submit to you that a granite mailbox and post are kind of like, it's worth money. But at least he wasn't convicted of those charges. Prosecutors allege the scheme resulted in more than 36 people getting commercial driver's licenses between February 2019 and January 2023 after flunking the required test or never taking it. And then in some cases, prosecutors alleged, after the golden handshake, or they're golden, troopers exchanged text messages describing some of the drivers they passed as an idiot, a mess, or brain dead. Applicants given preferential treatment on driver's tests included fellow troopers, relatives of active and retired police officers, a Seekonk firefighter, and a driver with connections to a tow company in Canton. According to evidence presented at the trial, the mailbox doesn't get justice, Wendy. And well, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder how he's going to spend his final days before he has to report to Club Fed on November 25th, which isn't that right around the time of Thanksgiving? Hang on. Let me check the calendar. Does that mean does he get to have turkey with his family or not? Let's see. November 25th. Oh, the Thanksgiving is the 27th. So he'll be having turkey in the pokey in Club Fed. Oh, well. Too bad. So sad. So there's that. He's going to be doing a lot of squats, says Tina. A lot of squats. I don't know. Do you think you can buy Swedish fish at the commissary? I don't know. Tell the truth. Oh, and Little Cupcake says he's probably going to be socking it up in our chat, probably. Maybe that was him. that was Mikey R. I see, that's what I needed. You know what I need. I need to laugh. No Swedish fish for you. We will always, always accept a Seinfeld reference here. Always. And Norman says, you're the best, Melanie. I had an aunt from Brooklyn that we would give her money, her $5 to curse. So here's $20. Oh, thank you. I said, did I curse 4 times on this stream already? It's been a day, Norman. It's been a day. And I know you've probably been with me all day because you're very loyal. And I love you with all of my heart. Thank you for your super chat. And Dr. Jen and Toxic says, been here for 4 months. Mel, we love you. And same with you always. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And Julie Hunter says, Mel, where do you get all your energy from? And to keep up with it all, bottle it and sell it, please. It's iced coffee. I drink a lot of iced coffee. It's right here. Hold on. But, you know, if I could bottle it and sell it, I would. Thank you. Very much. And she says, need a Mexico vacation? Let's go. Love from Windsor. I'm going to Mexico. Going to Dave Matthews like every year. Come. Those of you who want to come. Oh, also on Facebook, there's like, somebody sent me it on Facebook. You can enter to win a trip to Dave Matthews in Mexico. So you can enter to win a trip. If you're interested, I can put that link up for you guys. Anybody who wants to go see Dave Matthews in Cancun, you know, you can really say I went to Cancun with Melanie Little. So, you know, there's still packages available. And don't worry, it's gated and there's barbed wire around the resort. So we'll be safe there, Julie. Don't worry. I got you, Jules. Thank you for tuning in from Canada. And Poca says, thanks for everything you do. Love you bunches. Thanks for being here for 6 months. And I love you too. I love you too. Sarah B. Creative says he's in the weeds and he's not allowed in our shrubbery. Do we have a shrubbery? Do you have a shrubbery? Do you have a shrubbery? I love you too. Oh, and I love your profile picture. I can't see what it is, but you look like a warrior with long blonde hair and a sword. And I'm living for it right now. Thank you, Sarah B. Creative, for year 10. He definitely won't get Voss water behind bars, though. No way. No way. And Kevin, just making me laugh, wanting to know if I'm open to interviewing other Kevins from all the way across the pond. Just a watcher says, confused European over here. Don't you just pay to get a license in the U.S. and most states? No states require no driving lessons or tests. No. When you initially get your driver's license, you have to take a road test. Here in New York, you have to be 17 to take your road test. And you have to have had your permit for 6 months, right? They keep raising the driving age. When I got my license, I think I was 16. And to drive a commercial vehicle, like a truck or a bus, or I'm trying to see what else they said fell into that category of commercial driver's license, you have to take what I described earlier as this very complicated 3-part exam, because that's, risky. And so if you already have a driver's license from another state, then you can go to another state and turn that one in and get a driver's license for the state in which you would like your driver's license, or where you move or whatever. But in some states, like in some farming states, Idaho, as Kathy would say, in the Idaho, I don't even know how she pronounced that. Idaho, states. Idaho, like you can be like 14 or 13 and get your license because they drive farm equipment, I think, out there. And so here in New York, it's you have to be older, but you absolutely do have to take a test. And so thank you very much for tuning in from Europe. Little Cupcake says here, you just have to be willing to look the other way on occasion. Lucy's mama says, was Gary the lone bribe taker ranger? No, I think there was like 4 of them. Because some of the other guys got like the Swedish fish, and like they didn't get the driveway. Somebody got a nice driveway out of it, like a $10,000 driveway. And I think, was it Cederquist who got the plunge pool for his wife built? So Dan says, CDL for in-state, you can get it at 18. If you go out of state, you must be 21. That tracks. But I'm talking just about a regular driver's license first. And then, yes, so you have to be older to get a commercial driver. And defensive driving courses, yeah, every year you have to update. Like it's a lot, right? It's a lot. It's no joke. Lucy's mom says, Gary, so no, he was not the only one, but the other ones got less time than he did. Lynette says, I'm a subscriber and I joined and not able to chat. Subscribers mode is on. I'm sorry. There's been heavy trolling and really, really vile things directed at me in the chat. I love you, Lynette, and I love your super chat. And if you're a subscriber and you join, if you're already a subscriber and a member, and you've been one for more than 7 days or whatever, but I can't make an exception because I'm just not dealing with the trauma of the vile stuff that's been said at me today and in this stream and before. And I hope you'll forgive me, but if you don't, then I can send you back your $10. I don't tell you, I'm at the end of my patience. I have no patience left today. I love you, but if you can't chat today, you'll be able to chat tomorrow. Don't worry. Ms. Mojo Horizon says, happy Thursday. Love you. Great live. Great chat. Thanks. 22 months, girl. I love Jim Morrison too. I told you how we used to bake a cake for Jim Morrison in high school. Jim Girl says, I'm a little behind, Melanie, but I just heard you ain't seen nothing yet. Mother, father, and I'll allow it. Hello, I love this feisty side of you. You, Lauren, and other streamers have my full support. Thank you, Jim Girl. Thank you very, 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 very much. No, yeah, Shannon's like, have trolls ever considered getting a hobby? What is really like repulsive, like the most shocking thing about these people is that most of them are like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's not like young people that are doing that. And most of them are other women, which is also revolting. And did anybody watch Unknown Number on Netflix? That was even the most revolting. People are psycho. They are. But also, we're not going to let them get away with it. So thank you, Jim Girl. I appreciate your support. And for each and every one of you who can't chat today, my deepest apologies. But if you were at the stream before this one, you understand. Okay, so that's it with regard to Gary Cederquist. Now, if you do not know about the case of Shawn Souza, please buckle up, because I did a stream on this. Again, this was like how long ago? Hold on, I'll tell you how long ago. I want to say it was like a year ago. Had to be like a year ago, maybe it was like January 2025. Yeah, we have an update. Okay, so let me first tell you what it's about. Tiggy Girl baked a cake for Jim Morrison too, and you got it backstage in Berkeley because of that cake when you were 15. You met Jim Morrison? Stop. I need to know more. Send me the pictures. Send me the pictures. Shawn Souza is a vile cretin. Glamis Susie's got a hearing tomorrow. He's got a hearing tomorrow in Fall River. I think it's in Fall River. But hang tight because I got to pull out my documents. So, you got to give me a minute to close all of these windows because I'm getting a draft. And also it makes my computer work slowly. And I guess I'm going to need to upgrade my whatever. You have pictures, Tiggy Girl? Can you email them to me? I'm so jealous. But I think by the time I got into Jim Morrison, he was already eating at the Endless Heaven buffet, as Kathy would also say. So, this is in Bristol County, the Fall River Courthouse in Bristol County. I don't know if they have Zoom, but if they do, I'm going to cover it tomorrow. It's like a 9:00 status hearing. But this case is wild. So buckle up because you're not going to like what I have to tell you. And for all of you who feel like you have so much outrage left over from the Karen Reed case, here's a place for you to redirect it. I just got to find some new documents that I got today. Shawn Souza was a Dartmouth police officer. And I'm going to show you his indictment. But first I have to, of course, redact the words that YouTube doesn't like, because if you guys were watching me the other day, for the first time ever, Ellen Greenberg, my first live stream was cut off in the middle of the live stream. They just shut me down because I guess I said the S word too many times, the thing that allegedly they said was the cause of death for Ellen Greenberg. And then YouTube sent me an email, like concerned for my safety, that they thought that I had those kind of ideations. And so I don't know what's going on with their AI program, but I got it back eventually. So part 1 is back up if you missed it. And then I went live right away again because they're not going to shut me up, because more people need to know about Ellen Greenberg and that ridiculousness. Okay, let me just. So grape is going to be the word that we use. Please be mindful of what you put in the chat that YouTube does not like. Let me just redact the foreperson of the grand jury's signature and things like that. So he was a Dartmouth police officer at the time that he allegedly committed these crimes. And I'm going to show you the indictment. Okay, the indictments. Okay, it's Melanie Little's Fight Club, Nanny Goat. Do you want to be the president? Should we have like an election? Do you guys want to run a campaign to be the president of the Fight Club? All right. Now, this is going to be hard to listen to. Okay. But you need to hear it because it's horrific. Shawn Souza was indicted all the way back in April of 2022. And here is what he was indicted on. This is the true bill. Bristol County, Massachusetts, in the Superior Court. Charge number 1, rape of a child with force. And this was in Fall River, County of Bristol, April 2022. Grand jury signed off on this. And the charge was on or about diverse dates from March 20th, 2011 to March 19th, 2013 at Dartmouth in the County of Bristol. He had intercourse with HN, those are the initials, a child under 16, and did compel such child to submit by force and against such child's will, or did compel such child to submit by threat of bodily injury. It should be pointed out that this at the time was his stepdaughter. Indictment number 2, rape of a child aggravated with a 5-year age difference. On or about diverse dates from March 20th, 2011 to March 19th of 2013 in Dartmouth. Same charges against the same child under 16 with more than a 5-year age difference. And she was under 12 years old, under 12. His stepdaughter. Charge number 3, rape of a child aggravated, 5-year age difference. Same child, same dates between 2011 and 2013. Indictment number 4 was a different victim, okay? This was indecent assault and battery on a person 14 or older at a different time between April 15th of 2013 and April 25th of 2013 in Dartmouth, essayed a girl who was over the age of 14. I think she was 15 at the time. And I think that she was a friend of the family. And look at Kevin from South Boston, got a gifted membership. You made it. Looks like we made it. And the grand jury signed off on that in June of 2022. All right. So the grand jury was convened in April of 2022. Indicted 2022. Yes, he was a Dartmouth police officer. And then it says at the bottom, amend so much of complaint that alleges under 14 by agreement, amend to person 14 or over. And that was July of 2022. Okay. He was indicted. Now, come back. I'm back. But wait, that's not all. There were two trials. The first trial in 2022, I'm not sure exactly when, because this indictment, the true bill was signed July of 2022. His first trial was in 2022, and it ended in a hung jury. Yeah, there's more. The second trial was in Bristol County, Fall River. The second trial, he was convicted October 2nd of 2024 of 2 counts of aggravated rape of a child, 1 count of rape of a child by force, and 1 count of indecent assault and battery of a person over 14. So everything we just read, all the indictments, he was convicted by a jury in Bristol County out of Fall River. He was convicted. One of the children said she was between the ages of 6 and 8 years old when the acts occurred. That was his stepdaughter. And the other child was 15. The next day after the conviction, the judge's name is Susan Sullivan. Judge Susan Sullivan sentenced him, Shawn Souza, to 10 to 15 years in prison plus 2 years probation. Okay. That's October 3rd. And then on December 18th of 2024, the same judge, Judge Sullivan, overturned the jury verdict, granted him a new trial, and released him from prison in the middle of the night when no one was looking. The first stream that I did on this, which I've linked below for your convenience if you want to go back and watch it, the reasons that she decided to overturn the jury verdict, this never happens. Like I can count on fingers how many times a judge who presided over the trial, sentenced the defendant, and then decided she was just going to overturn the verdict on her own, a guilty verdict. She let him out of jail in the middle of the night right before Christmas, and nobody knew about it. It was not in any of the papers. Look in the papers. You're not going to find it. Shawn, S-H-A-W-N, Souza, S-O-U-Z-A. There was nothing around the time that he was, and that's why I was so outraged when I first covered this case. And my outrage is only growing. Nobody covered it. Nobody knew that he was released. So the original order, I think we should take a look at it now. Oh, he's free. Yeah, he's out. He's free. Team Brittany says, follow the money. That's what I always say. Let's take a look at it, because I think a lot of you don't know about this case. If you don't know about this case, put a 1 in the chat. If you've never heard of this before. I was shooketh the first time I read about this, and I'm still shooketh. The only good news, if you choose to consider it good news, is that the DA in Bristol County has actually appealed this to the SJC, saying that this judge, well, we don't know what they said, what they're going to say yet, because the briefs have not yet been filed. But tomorrow there's a hearing in Bristol County Superior for Shawn Souza. I don't know if it's going to happen, just for status in the Superior Court case, because the briefs are not due in the SJC until, find my screenshot here, November 7th. So when the briefs come out, we'll go over them. But the Commonwealth is actually appealing this to the full panel. And Kelsey is in jail and can't get bail because of her injuries that she can't blow into the thing. This is why Massachusetts is where your constitutional rights go to die. Okay, a man who has been convicted by a jury a Bristol County jury of raping a child who happens to be his own stepdaughter and essaying another child who's a police officer is just let out of jail in the middle of the night after being convicted, and Kelsey Fitzsimmons sits in jail. Make it make sense. Anyone? So the briefs are due on November 7th, and obviously when I get the briefs, we will go over them. But here's Judge Sullivan's order. I think I have a picture of her. Hang on. And it was weird. Like her resemblance to Judge Cannoni was weird. And I think that we pointed that out when we first covered this, which was a long time ago. I have it somewhere, but it's not here. You guys can look it up. You're good like that. Come back. Okay. So here's Judge Susan Sullivan's decision, filed December 18th, 2024, which coincidentally I think was the same day he was let out. I wonder, did they even tell his stepdaughter and her mother that he was let out, or did they just let him out? It's 10 pages, so I won't read the whole thing since I read it in the prior stream, but I'll give you the sum and substance of it. On June 30th of 2022, the grand jury sitting for the County of Bristol returned indictments against the defendant for all the things that we read earlier. There were two different victims. Trial commenced on September 25th, 2024, and concluded on October 3rd, 2024, with guilty verdicts on all four indictments. The defendant was sentenced to 10 to 15 years on counts 1 to 3 to run concurrently, which means all at the same time. Consecutively would mean 15, then another 15, then another 15. So concurrently means at the same time. And 2 years of probation on count 4, commencing on and after the completion of the sentence on counts 1 to 3. The defendant filed his motion for required finding after discharge of the jury on October 4th of 2024, and the Commonwealth filed an opposition to the motion on October 31st of 2024. A hearing took place on November 18th of 2024. Based upon evidence presented at trial, at which the undersigned presided, the submission of the parties, and oral argument, the defendant's motion is allowed insomuch as it seeks a new trial, and denied insomuch as it seeks the entry of a finding of not guilty. Here's where it takes a weird twist. The judge's reasoning has nothing to do with the Commonwealth's arguments. I mean, with the defense's arguments. Oh, I remember this one too, because she was escorted by BACA. Do you remember? Bikers Against Child Abuse. It's a biker group that escorts children to court to make them feel less afraid when they go in to testify against their abuser. And that just reminded me of it. If you guys don't know about BACA, they're an amazing organization. BACA. Evidence at trial. Taking the evidence in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth, a reasonable jury could have found the following. Victim HN. HN was the first victim to testify at trial. During the course of the trial, each time HN entered or exited the courthouse, she was escorted by a group of older men, all dressed similarly in black clothing. They would walk in with her when she entered the courtroom and exit with her when she left, giving a clear impression that they were there to support or protect her. I'm sorry, is there anything wrong with that? You know how much support they get, maybe like from some DA's offices? None. In fact, if you're in Norfolk County and you're a child, you're thrown to the wolves by Hank Brennan when you're put on the stand to testify against a woman named Karen Reed, who by all accounts was very generous to you as a child. And then Hank Brennan is reckless enough to talk about the, circumstances of maybe your father's death on his mother's grave. Revolting. So there's nothing wrong with that. Hold on a sec. It is the court's understanding that HN's escorts are members of a motorcycle club who attends SA trials to support alleged victims. At the time of trial, HN was 19 years of age and a sophomore in college where she was studying business administration. This is the stepdaughter. HN testified that she had little to no relationship with her biological father, whom she saw on only 2 occasions before his passing when she was 10 years old. This is making me mad reading about this again. And this female judge is now like shaming the biological father, like making excuses. The whole thing is revolting. She resided with her grandmother between the ages of 2 and 3, and then with her mother on Blank Street in Dartmouth. While residing on Blank Street, her mother married the defendant, who had a son, D, who was approximately 1 year older than HN. The defendant had shared custody of D with his ex-wife, and D spent significant time with the defendant in the home the defendant shared with HN's mother and HN. HN and the D became very close. The family engaged in many activities that were fun, including a trip to a Christmas tree farm and a trip to Disney World. The defendant worked nights as a police officer for the town of Dartmouth, and HN's mother worked long hours during the day in Quincy as a blank therapist. I redacted this a long time ago. HN knew that the defendant had previously worked as a firefighter and also served in the Army. Like, here's this judge pumping up how great this defendant is and how he couldn't possibly be involved in what the jury convicted him of. He was a hard worker. He worked nights. He was a firefighter before that, and he also served in the Army. When HN and D arrived home from school on the school bus, the defendant would usually be sleeping and the children would play outside with a neighbor, Aiden. Often Aiden's father would meet the children when they got off the bus after school. If the children were in their home on Blank Street, they would play quietly while the defendant slept. In the Blank Street home, there was a bathroom between the master bedroom and HN's bedroom. There were doors in each of the bedrooms for access to the bathroom, so it was possible to enter the bathroom from one bedroom and walk through to the other. There was a railed overlook from the second floor of the home down to the first floor living space. When D was staying at the Blank Street home, he slept in the basement. At some point in the marriage between the defendant and HN's mother, the marital relationship deteriorated. The couple began to argue frequently, with some arguments escalating to acts of aggression, like the breaking of objects, throwing objects, and yelling. She doesn't say who's doing it. She'll say who's throwing things. HN described 3 SAs by the defendant when she was between the ages of 6 and 8. Okay, I'll trigger warn you if you can't handle what I may be about to read to you because I don't remember. It's okay to take a break and come back later. This is a blanket trigger warning for anybody who needs one. The first assault occurred when she was approximately 6 years old. She returned home from school and went into her home to make a snack. And remember, this is the court order. This is the judge's order. She returned home from school and went into her room to make a snack. She encountered the defendant watching TV in the living room. HN testified that the defendant removed his own pants and her pants and then engaged in VSI with her. She testified that he pushed forcefully into her and she was crying. He told her to be quiet or he would cover her mouth. This is everything she testified to, okay? P enters V. When he finished, he went to bed and she went into the bathroom where she could not urinate. She thinks she may have been bleeding. She was premenstrual at the time and she was not yet getting her period. Paul's surprised that I don't have more subscribers. I don't know. I have almost like 130,000 and the channel is like less. It's only a little over 2 years old. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you. After the alleged grape, she went to Aiden's house where she found Dee and Aiden playing with Aiden's dog. The children played in the leaves as it was autumn, and they searched for grasshoppers. She did not tell anyone what happened because she did not want the defendant to become angry and hurt someone. She was 6. There are women who have been abused as children who are in their 50s and 60s that have never told a soul. The fact that she was able to disclose at all is remarkable. The second assault described by HN occurred after she was struck by a rock in her V. Oh, somebody's got information about Wynn Farwell, catastrophe K8. I don't remember who it was, but if you're listening, come back in and you can tag the person. HN was playing outside with D when he threw a rock and accidentally struck her in her V area. Her mother was at work and the defendant was sleeping. She was bleeding in her V area from the rock strike, so she went into the house to tell the defendant of her injury. She described the defendant pulling down her pants, moving her underwear to the side, and placing his thing that's in his mouth that, in my opinion, should probably be cut out into her V. The third alleged assault, now this is the judge saying alleged, occurred in the evening after dinner. Her mother was downstairs cleaning up after dinner, and the defendant was preparing to go to work as a police officer. HN was in her bedroom when the defendant came through the bathroom from the master bedroom and laid on her bed. He was dressed for work and removed his work belt. HN initially could not recall if the contact occurred over or under the covers, as if that matters. But testified that she believes that he put his P into her V. She could not recall what the defendant said to her. In her SANE interview, HN told the interviewer that she did not think the defendant tried to remove her pants. Trauma ICU nurse says 6-year-olds do not make this up. They do not know these things otherwise. Yeah, it's alleged after a jury verdict, Amber, right. HN repeatedly began her answers to the questions posed to her with the words, "I believe," but when pressed by the Commonwealth, she would testify that she was 100% sure that the alleged events had actually occurred. No, it wasn't a false memory. HN was scared to tell anyone what happened. She had seen clips of SA at her religious education classes and knew what the defendant was doing to her was not right. She testified at trial that she has worked through the trauma, processed it, and no longer has a memory of the details of it. I'm here to tell you from my work with SAs that victims and survivors, that is not uncommon, that you wouldn't have details. HN testified that she's no longer bothered by it. HN estimated, so we should just let him out of jail, Judge? HN estimated the assault started when she was 5 or 6 and ended when she was 7 or 8. Around the time when the assault stopped, there was a change in the family schedule. HN's mother began taking classes at night, so she was home during the day. The defendant and HN's mother separated, and HN and her mother moved in with her grandmother. After the separation and eventual divorce of the decedent and HN's mother, the defendant would pick up HN and take her and D out for outings together on occasion. On other occasions, the defendant took HN shopping for school clothes and to get a second piercing of her ears. HN was 8 or 9 years old when the defendant and her mother separated. HN's grandmother saw nothing remarkable regarding interactions between the defendant and HN, either when the two resided together or after the separation. When HN's mother and the defendant separated, HN and her mother moved in with HN's grandmother, who observed the defendant come by to pick up HN after the separation. When HN was 14 years old, she disclosed to her grandmother that she had been SA'd by the defendant. Wow. I mean, that's an early age of disclosure. That is an early age of disclosure. Around the time of the disclosure, 2 popular television programs aired episodes dealing with the topic of grape and delayed disclosure. HN watched one of the shows called A Million Little Things and denied watching the other, Grey's Anatomy. Although HN did not watch the Grey's Anatomy episode dealing with the topic, she did hear family members discussing it. HN was aware that her mother had a conversation with the other victim, JH, about the Grey's Anatomy episode. Um, is this judge insinuating that this child had false memories because she watched a TV show called A Million Little Things when she was 14? Yes, she is. She is. HN was aware that her mother had a conversation with the other victim. Oh, the other victim, JH. So there's another victim. She was 15. HN made a disclosure to her grandmother following her viewing of the SA episode of A Million Little Things and her awareness of the episode of Grey's Anatomy. The episode of A Million Little Things involved a delayed disclosure by a woman who was essayed by her uncle. And then this is victim JH. This is the next section of the judge's order. At the time of trial, JH was 26 years old. She's 8 years older than victim HN. JH knows HN and her mother through her stepfather and is close to both of them. JH met the defendant through HN's mother when they began their relationship. When they began their relationship? Wait a second. I don't remember picking up on this last time. JH, this is the victim, who was 15 at the time, met the defendant, Shawn Souza, through the other little girl's mother when they began their relationship. Is she saying that JH had a relationship with Shawn Souza, like this was a relationship? Or is she saying that she met Shawn Souza when the mother started the relationship with Souza? I'm not sure. It is unclear. In 2011, when JH was 14 years old, she knew that the defendant was a police officer and that he had served in the Army. Okay. She had seen him in his uniform and felt he had a powerful presence. Yes, Thunder Horse says, and this is why we don't tell. In April of 2013, on the weekend that immediately followed the bombing at the Boston Marathon, JH was with family and friends in her home in Dartmouth, Mass. She was 15 years old at the time. JH's stepfather, her mother, HN's mother, and the defendant were present while HN and JH's brother were in another room. The group decided to watch a movie and chose Big Fish. The living room where the group was watching the movie included a couch, a rocking chair, and a recliner. JH's stepfather was seated in the rocking chair and the mother was in the recliner. JH, the defendant, and HN's mother were all seated on the couch with the defendant in between the two females. Due to the location of the television in the room, the viewers who were seated on the couch had to turn to the right to see the screen. JH had her back against the arm of the couch as she faced the television with her legs pulled up to her chest. The defendant was leaning against her legs with his arm on top of her knees. JH testified that the defendant put pressure against her legs to cause them to move apart and then moved his arm in a circular motion, first against her leg and then against her V. He switched to using his hand briefly, then went back to using his forearm while his wrist was against her upper thigh. JH left the room to use the bathroom, and when she returned, she went back to the same seat on the couch, but kept her legs in front of her so the defendant could not lean against her. JH did not tell anyone about the incident until 2019 when she was 21 years old. She had been involved in a motor vehicle accident where she fractured her ankle and her car was totaled, causing her significant stress. She then watched the episode of Grey's Anatomy involving SA. After seeing the episode, she was visiting HN's mother, and they discussed the episode in HN's presence. The following weekend, JH called HN's mother and described the incident involving the defendant on the couch at her parents' home that occurred in April 2013, 6 years earlier. So this victim called the ex-wife now, I think, of the defendant and told her about it. And it has, the judge wants us to believe that they made this shit up because they watched Grey's Anatomy and A Million Little Things. This is 2025. Is this really this? I mean, Following her divorce from the defendant, HN's mother married David Blank in 2015 and had 3 additional children, one 10 years younger than HN, one 15 years younger than HN, and one 16 years younger than HN. Although HN's mother and the defendant argued often and often displayed anger with each other in front of HN, once they separated, the arguing and aggression ended. HN's mother did not testify of any difficulties with HN's demeanor, her performance at school, her sleep, her moods, or any other changes or concern in her behavior or health at any time. So, does that mean that she was lying? Standard of review. Massachusetts Criminal Rule 25B2 provides if the motion for the required finding of not guilty is denied and the case is submitted to the jury, the motion may be renewed within 5 days after the jury is discharged and may include in the alternative a motion for a new trial. If a verdict of guilty is returned, the judge may on motion set aside the verdict and order a new trial. Under Rule 25B2, if you're trying to get my attention in the chat, I'm not looking at it right now because I'm reading, so save it for when I break, and then if you need me to see something, I'll try and see it later. Under Rule 25B2, a judge may reduce a verdict on the basis that it is against the weight of the evidence or not consonant with justice. A judge may exercise this discretionary authority even where the evidence is sufficient to support the jury's verdict. However, because Rule 25B2 allows a judge to undo the work of the jury, this power is to be used sparingly. The post-conviction powers granted by the legislature to the courts at both trial and appellate levels reflect the evolution of legislative policy promoting judicial responsibility to ensure that the result in every criminal case is consonant with justice. A new trial or verdict reduction may be proper even when the evidence can legally support the jury's verdict. Oh, there's Deborah. It's Deborah Gelsey. She's here. She says, tell me about when. I love how I connect you guys. And I have people sending me emails right now that they live near Fall River and they're going to court tomorrow. Good. Redirect your outrage. And Mastad says 25B2 is a great rule when used right, such as in the Louise Woodward case. A new trial or verdict reduction may be proper even when the evidence can legally support the jury's verdict. Discussion. For both HN and JH, their disclosures of SA were delayed by approximately 6 years. Given the significant passage of time, there was no physical evidence to corroborate the assaults. Well, not everybody has an Olivia Benson to get them into SVU, to have SVU take them to the emergency room and do a grape kit, Your Honor. There were no witnesses to the assaults. And as to HN, who was between the ages of 6 and 8 at the time of the alleged SAs, there was no evidence of any change in her social interactions, her diet, her school performance, her sleep, her familial interactions, or any other aspect of her behavior. No one noted any blood on her underwear or bedclothes. After the defendant and her mother separated and later divorced, HN had visits with the defendant, some including the defendant's son, and others with just her and the defendant. There was no evidence of any distress or even reluctance on the part of HN to participate in the outings with the defendant. I'm going to say 2 things. Number 1, if HN's mom had a beef with the ex-husband and wanted to make up allegations against her, she would have testified to all sorts of things. All sorts of things. So that's not the case here. How often are there witnesses to childhood SA? How often? Like never? I forgot how much this upsets me. I'm revolted. The defendant made this motion, yes, except that the grounds on which the judge grants it was not argued. Hang on one second. Hold, please. One of my daughters wanted to say hi, and I was like, yeah, not today. Yeah, I don't want your face on camera today, because the disgusting trolls are out in full force. But anyway, she says hi. Many children also will not act out. They will not act out. They may act normal. Many children between the ages of 6 and 8 also don't know that there's anything wrong with that. They're often threatened, and they are often told that I love you, or this is what people do. And Flower Child 76 says, you pretend that nothing has happened, hoping it all stops. There was no reluctance for her to go out with this guy after the parents divorced. You know how I feel about this. I don't need to overplay it, but right. Katie says, or we want to pretend that it didn't happen. Certainly a jury could believe the testimony of HN and JH. Well, they did, and he was convicted by a jury on all counts. And based upon the testimony alone, find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Given the absence of any corroborating evidence, however, there is a grave concern. There it is. There is a grave concern that the joinder of both victims to the same prosecution led to an inappropriate bolstering of credibility. The essays described by HN and JH bear no resemblance. The descriptions do not establish any sort of mode of operation, victim preference, or unique manner of assault. I'm sorry, what? Disassociating comes up in the chat. A lot of poop emojis. HN testified that she was between the ages of 6 and 8 when the assaults occurred, a prepubescent female. JH was 15 years old at the time of the alleged assault, a post-pubescent female. HN described 2 incidents of vaginal pee with the adult defendant's P, and one incident of V penetration by the defendant's T, the thing that's in his mouth. JH claimed that the defendant rubbed his arm against her V while she was fully clothed and in the presence of others. And so therefore, the judge thinks that these 2 things could not possibly be true and that they should absolutely not have been tried together. And the defense didn't even make that argument. They never made a motion to sever. The alleged assaults did not occur in the same manner, at the same time, with the same victim type, or at the same location. Yet, hearing 2 different women make allegations of SA on separate occasions against the same person undoubtedly provided reciprocal bolstering of the testimony of the alleged victims. Absent a constitutional requirement for severance, joinder and severance are matters committed to the sound discretion of the trial judge. Well, then why didn't she do it before the trial? Misjoinder occurs when, 1, the offenses were unrelated, and the prejudice from joinder is so compelling that it prevented the defendant from obtaining a fair trial. There was no motion to sever the charges pertaining to different victims for trial. There it is. There was no motion to sever the charges by the defense. However, the joinder of the indictments pertaining to HN with the indictment pertaining to JH prevented the defendant from obtaining a fair trial. This misjoinder, coupled with the distraction and potential influence of members of the, oh my God, hold on. This joinder combined with, misjoinder, combined with the distraction and potential influence of the members of the motorcycle club accompanying the alleged victims, plural, in and out of the courtroom prevented justice from being done. Footnote 1. The members of the motorcycle club and the public in general had every right to attend the public trial. It was not their attendance that concerns the court, but the repeated parading in and out with the alleged victims. Order. For the foregoing, and the defense did not, in their motion, argue either one of these things, as I recall. Order. For the foregoing reasons, the defendant, Shawn Souza, is entitled to a new trial on all indictments, with the indictments involving HN to be tried separately from the indictment involving JH. Anyone who wishes to attend the trials of these matters is entitled to do so, but shall do so in a manner that is not disruptive and does not cause a distraction that could influence the jury and impact the assessment of the credibility of witnesses. A lot of victims in the chat. I know, because they know my position on this, and we've been together for more than 2 years talking about it. She did oversee the first trial, yes, and she sentenced him. And then December 18th of 2024 is when she signed this order, and I think that's the same day that he was let out. Let's go to the court docket, because I don't remember if he was let out on bond. So he's been out for almost a year now, based on the judge's own recommendation. Who got to her? She's the one who sentenced him. Do the women, are women in Fall River afraid? You should be. And it's weird too, because when you search this under the Bristol Superior Court docket by name, you can't find it. Hang on. 2273CR156. Why is that not coming up? Hold on. Oh, please. Oh, because I got to put the OO in there. That's why, because you got to put the double O in there. If you don't put the double O in, you won't get it. Oh, so anybody reading this order that just copies and pastes that docket number, you got to put in the 00156. So let's look at the docket together. Because we like receipts. All right. So this says indictments returned June 30th, 2022. And that was the same day that attorney for the Commonwealth appeared. Kevin Reddington appeared for the defense on July 5th. July 20th was the arraignment before Judge O'Shea. That's interesting. Daniel O'Shea, he's now the judge on the Karen Reed civil case. Defendant waived the reading of the indictment, pled not guilty on all charges. Bail was set at $100,000, $10,000 cash. He got out on $10,000 cash. Bail warnings were read. I don't see any conditions. Wait, pretrial conditions of release. I don't know if I have those. Oh, GPS. So he was let out with an ankle monitor. Did he have to do alcohol monitoring? It doesn't say. Bail transfer from another case. I don't know what that is. Pretrial conference 10/4/22 was held as scheduled. January 13th, 2023, pretrial hearing was held. The judge was Rafi Yesion. Yesion. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Jury trial started. The first trial started January 13th of 2022. Rescheduled. And there was a motion to modify probation terms and conditions in March 2nd, 2023. Modified by agreement with appropriate notifications to curfew and GPS exclusion zones as stated on the record. There's some documents from the post commission in here, so I wonder if he was let go. And then he moved again to amend his terms and conditions of pretrial release. This must be the second trial. The first trial must have been under a different index number, and that's why they transferred the bond over. All right, so the second trial started, it looks like September 20th, September 23rd. No, rescheduled again. Motions in limine. All right, here's when the trial happened. Judge Susan Sullivan started the second trial, September 25th of 2024. It was a 1, 2, 3. I don't know. 5-day trial. If you guys are interested, I'm going to order the FTR recordings of the trial and we can listen to the trial because now I'm in it. I am in it now. They didn't put him in jail when he tried to modify conditions. Nope. They sure didn't. Thanks for pointing that out, Steve-O. Okay, so here's the jury trial, right? He's convicted October 1st, 2024. He's sentenced October 2nd, 2024, and then he was committed without bail October 2nd of 2024. Then he got sentenced 10 to 15 years concurrently. See when he got let out. Oh, there was a motion hearing November 18th of 2024. On December 13th, they were returning his bail of $10,000 to the surety. And then on December 18th, that's the memorandum on order. For the foregoing reasons, the defendant Shawn Souza is entitled to a new trial on all indictments, with the indictments involving HN to be tried separately from the indictment involving JH. Anyone who wishes to attend the trials is entitled to do so, but shall do so in a manner that is not disruptive, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was a habeas corpus issued for him December 20th. And then he was let out. Defendant to be released from Bristol Superior Court only for attachment of GPS device. December 23rd, right before Christmas. Commonwealth moved for reconsideration. It was denied very quickly. Look at that. It was filed on December 23rd. It was denied the same day by Judge Susan Sullivan. December 30th, it says, bail hearing scheduled on December 30th. Held administratively. What does that mean? Nobody else was there? GPS device attached. Defendant released, having already posted the cash bail set. December 30th of 2024. Nobody knew. Google it. You won't find anything. The verdict was set aside the same day. And he's going to get a new trial. And then what had happened was the Commonwealth filed an appeal. The appeal was stayed because there was a deficiency in the trial transcripts. And allegedly, I guess tomorrow, let's go back up here. There's supposed to be a status hearing in court. I wonder if he'll be there. What do you think? 10/17, that's tomorrow, right? Courtroom 9, status review. Here's the judge, Judge Rafi Yesayan. In courtroom 9, criminal 1, Fall River. Are you outraged enough to show up? I'm not telling you to show up. My heart breaks for these two girls who may have to do this again. Who will have to do this again. If the appellate court doesn't overturn the judge's decision to vacate the verdict. Oh, you want the case number? Here you go. Hold on, Suze. There you go. 2273CR00156. Commonwealth versus Shawn with a W, Souza, Souza. Press isn't covering this. Nobody's covering this. I don't know if anybody on YouTube is even covering this. Thank you, Susan, for becoming a member. Ms. Mojo Rising says, I saw in an interview, Janis Joplin said Jim Morrison was her favorite singer and made my heart melt. Oh, I love that. It's Susan says, I love you, Melanie. Go get those effers. Just joined your membership, but have been subbed and watched for years. Oh, thank you. I love you. Thanks, Nancy, for being with me for 12 months. Says, I love you and Newly. Oh, did you join Newly? That's my clothing rental subscription. Actually, this I got from Newly, and then I bought it because I loved it. There's a discount code for anybody who likes to or who wants to try renting clothes. You get 6 pieces per month. It's all like, I'm a boho at heart, so it's like a lot of free people, Anthropology, other stuff. And there's a discount code in the show notes below for Newly, and you can try it out and see if you like it. Usually the month goes by and I haven't even worn all 6 pieces, and most of the time I get stuff with tags on it that's new. Thank you, Deborah, for gifting 5 memberships. Another 5 memberships. You're amazing. And Gail, aka G-Bird, says, I remember you covering this. He's still out. Yep. 2-tier policing at its finest. Yep. Thank you for your super chat. Lieutenant Pez Dispenser Tully became a new member. Welcome. And Casey's been here for 20 months. She says, I got my tour shirt yesterday. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. Deborah says, I'm here. Tell me about when. Okay, good. Hopefully you guys connected in the chat. Glamasu says, no Zoom or telephonic access to court in Fall River. Must be boots on the ground. Wow. Are we shocked? Oh, well, you know what? I can order the FTR the next day. I'm good at that now. I've been ordering all the recordings for all the court proceedings that we want to hear that nobody wants you to hear. Tell me, put a 1, or we'll have to use a different number this time. Put it 2, and this is only for live viewers, by the way. I have so many replay viewers that are putting like things in the chat when we're doing it in real time, and then they put like comments later, like a 1 or 2. Put a 2 in the chat if you are interested in me getting the recordings of the trial so that we can listen to it together. If you would like to do that, put a 2 in the chat. Kelly says, I have a fascinating, incredible tip for you. Can I email? Yeah, anyone's welcome to email me. My email is always in the show notes, but you got to use your real name. You can't be using like a fake name and a fake email address. Like I don't play that game, and I don't, there are certain people that I trust to give me information and that I've been corresponding with for a long time. And then there's a lot of horrific, not that you are, Kelly, a lot of horrific people out there that try and get me to click on things, and it's like, malware. All right, if you're interested, we can do it. No Zoom or telephone access to the right. So we can get the transcripts and we can listen to the actual trial, which it wasn't very long. It was like 3 days. They can't deny us access to that. I got to pay $10 a day for it, which I will gladly do. Thank you, Suze. Sounds familiar. Michael Fossler, says Bailey Caroline. Yep. Michael Fossler. Leanne, sorry, not sorry. That was the trial judge. She was the trial judge. Susan Sullivan. Hold on, let me pull up a picture of her. I think she's still on the bench. No, I did not watch Ellen's Parents on Gavin Fish. I heard that they went on there, but I didn't watch it. It's on my it's in my watch later list, but I barely have time to do my own streams, Be cool, be kind, be classy. Oh, I love that. It says XOXOAML. I love that username. You win. Mel, how do I add ADHD? And might swear to my new name. I have no idea even how to change a name, but I love the name you have right now, so I don't think you should change it. Mrs. Parks is in the house with a $100 super chat. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I love you with all of my heart. Says, wait, Kelsey is sitting in jail, but this dirtbag is walking around among us in Massachusetts. Yes. Oh, yes, he is. And he was a cop. He was a cop. Absolutely ridiculous. But what else is new in Massachusetts? JFC, not for nothing. We love us some spicy Melanie Little. Please accept this as money for your swear jar this week. Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Parks is in the house and she's amazing. We had a chance to meet in person at a friends and family type fundraiser. I don't remember when that was. It was sometime before the second trial. It was like right after the first trial. It was like in the fall, like around November, I want to say 2024, maybe. And we sat at the same table and you're awesome. I don't know. I can't find her picture. Hang on. Oh, here she is. And this is like the puss that I imagine her having. This is from the Herald News. And this is an article from May 23rd, 2022, $2 million lawsuit. And there she is. That is Judge Susan Sullivan. Looks a little bit like Canoni, right? Thank you, Mrs. Parks. And the Goodmans are here and they gifted a membership. Thank you guys. And Kay Willis is here and she's a realtor. She's south of Boston. If you need to get out of Boston or Massachusetts, Kay Willis is your girl and she gifted 5. Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Is also a very long time member contributor to the channel. Thank you very much. Somebody said the other day, all the judges in Massachusetts have the same hairdresser and the same haircut. And I'll allow it. We watched the appellate. If you weren't here yesterday, was it only yesterday that we did the appellate arguments in Massachusetts and New Hampshire? I think it was only yesterday. Many of the judges on the bench of the appellate of the SJC we saw the full panel yesterday, have the same haircut. Thank you to Linda for sending me this. This is a picture of Shawn Souza. This was from 2019 when he was released on $10,000 bail. But there hasn't been a lot of coverage since he's been let out of jail for the last time in 2024. And that's him. This is the Herald News. It said a judge found Shawn Souza, a Dartmouth police officer charged with child rape, to be dangerous, but he did not hold him without bail Monday at a dangerousness hearing. Right. That was back in 2019, April. Let's see what judge it was. Judge Robert Ovoyan, Ovoian. He released the 37-year-old officer on $10,000 cash bail, told him not to come within 1 mile of the two victims' school, home, and employment. He also established a curfew from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. and required Souza to wear a GPS monitoring device. Earlier during today's hearing, prosecutors asked a judge to view a portion of a video to assess the credibility of a complaining witness against Souza. That's interesting. Why would the prosecutors ask the judge to review a portion of a video of a complaining witness? That's interesting to me. Prosecutor Chris Abreu asked Judge Robert Ovoyan to view about 20 minutes of a video of one of the victims to assess the credibility. The Bristol County DA's office had attempted to hold Souza for 4 months without bail at the dangerousness hearing in New Bedford District Court. The hearing recessed while Ovoyan, I have no idea how to pronounce that, viewed the video. Souza is charged with rape of a child with force, rape of and the girl was between 6 and 8 years old. So I've gotten a couple of emails from some of you guys who say you're going to go there tomorrow. I can't wait to hear from you, because nobody's going to cover this. No mainstream media is going to cover this. And I don't even know if anybody knows that this is happening, aside from all of you now and the over 3,500 of you that have been here. Steve-O says, as they say, connect the dots. It will make a full circle. Melissa says, free Kelsey. No, I don't believe he's still employed by law enforcement, because I saw some post records in there, which is the commission that like takes their job away. That like Michael Proctor is fighting before the post commission now to get his job back, right? No, I don't have a P.O. box. Thank you, though. And trauma nurse says, why don't they want to protect children? It's so gross. I know. I know. Cat says to be a fly on the wall at that salon. Oh my God. And Weird Girl 413 says it's true. We just adopted our daughter and the judge had the same haircut. I literally did a double take. Not that Dina points out Susan Sullivan's rocking the Irish poor face. I know, you guys can make me laugh. You can. Becky Einhorn wants to know if there's a conditioner shortage in the Commonwealth. Asking for a friend. Okay, Max, go to work now. Thank you. 6 to 6 in the Philly ER. Don't let the idiots get your heart rate up. Thank you. Oh, you're the greatest. Thank you, Max. Have a good shift doing the Lord's work in the ER over there in Philly. Oh, that's interesting, because we covered Ellen Greenberg the other day, and that involved Philly. Philly first responders. That was in Philly. All right, I have to do some more show notes on this because I didn't get a chance to do it all. I don't know. A couple of people have sent me emails that you're blocked. I'll check it out after the stream, but I can't do it in between, like while I'm streaming. And so, oh, here's the, wait a second. Somebody sent me Howie Carr. Hang on. Do you want to listen to Howie Carr or want me to read Howie Carr to you? Oh, please. Oh, that is such small font. I mean, do you want to hear Howie Carr? If you want to hear Howie Carr, just say yes. And I'll read it for you before my voice totally goes away. There was a Matthew Farwell hearing today. We covered that right at the beginning of the stream, Michelle. So just go rewind and I tell you everything that happened at the stream at the Matthew Farwell hearing today. So it's not a rumor. It's really true. I really covered it. First thing, even. First thing. All right. Hold, please. It is wicked small font, but I will do my best for you. Mm. Am I going to be able to read that? Okay. It's a picture of Cederquist and how he says this turkey is off to prison. If it seems a little blurry, that's because it is. He goes on to say, don't worry, I'll read it to you. And so farewell, disgraced ex-state police sergeant Gary Cederquist. As he heads off to federal prison next month, Cederquist's epitaph can be summed up in 6 words. Once a Met, always a Met. I refer, of course, to the now defunct Metropolitan Police Department. In their spare moments, they patrolled parks and highways around Boston. But what the Mets really specialized in was stealing, robbing banks, selling drugs, planting evidence, doing mob hits, and selling civil service exams, among other rackets. The Mets were so hopelessly corrupt that they were abolished way back in 1992, merged into the state police. The Mets have been out of business for 33 years, a third of a century. But folding them into the once relatively honest state police proved again the truth of the old saying, a few rotten apples can spoil the whole barrel. The MSP is now dirtier than even the old Mets. In the 1980s, there were 3 major outfits in Massachusetts organized crime: the Mafia, the Winter Hill Gang, and the Metropolitan Police Department. Most years, I believe, the Mets' ill-gotten gains far surpassed those of both the Hill and in town combined. Yet, a generation later, these aging, bent cops keep getting caught with not just their hands, but all their bodily appendages in the cookie jar. Or in the case of Met Hall of Famer Cederquist, in the jar with the Twizzlers and the Swedish fish, because that was some of the greft he was stealing. He ran the state police's CDL operation out of Stoughton, which is, of course, next door to Canton, where another MSP crew was running amok under a friend of theirs named Meatball Marcy. Cederquist became a Met in 1987, a statey in 1992. That's a lot of good earning years, as his fellow wise guys used to say back in the day. At sentencing, Sergeant Cederquist apologized to his fellow troopers, to everybody except the people he was stealing from, the taxpayers. Cederquist's CDL branch of the Mets basically sold commercial driver's licenses to people who had no business driving e-bikes, let alone big scary trucks. The troopers thought it was all a big joke, a very lucrative joke. Among Cederquist's chump change payoffs, in addition to the candy, were bottled water, a snowblower, and a granite mailbox. He'd sell an orchard for an apple, That's the Met way. I guess he needed the money. In 2023, the last year before Cederquist got lugged, he only, in quotes, made $331,620 on the level, or at least as on the level as anything in the state police. He comes from a family of MSP troopers. His brother William, who is not implicated in any of this, is a detective lieutenant who made $439,600 in 2023 and then fell off to a mere $407,100 last week. This year, as of October 4th, Detective Lieutenant Cederquist had already pocketed $294,529. Gary Cederquist, headed to prison 2 days before Thanksgiving, continues to grab his $850 a month kiss in the mail. Of course he does. Oh, he is getting his pension. By the way, there's a second Cederquist collecting a pension from the state police. Deborah Cederquist's golden kiss in the mail started in June of 2001 and is now up to $4,221 a month. She's in the state pension system's $1 million club and then some, but aren't they all? I just finished writing a book called Mass Corruption, Volume 1, The Cops. Cederquist is one of scores of bad cops included in the book, as is one of his minions in the Stoughton crew, a guy named Calvin Butner. Everybody go buy Howie's book. Butner is currently doing a brief bid in Whitey Bulger's final prison home in Hazleton, West Virginia. He was lugged off a cruise boat about to leave Miami a couple of years back. The feds asked his wife if she wanted to get off with her handcuffed husband, and she said, "Nah, we've already paid for the tickets." What? That's awesome. I gotta find out who this woman was. Okay, it's Calvin Butner's wife. I was like, no, the ticket's already paid for. I'm getting on the cruise. Butner got a wrist slap sentence of 3 months and will probably be out any day now. His Bureau of Prisons number is 12387-056. His pension continues as he does his time, $6,020 a month. Of course it does. As I was researching the book last summer, I read Butner's pre-sentencing report. I had never known that he too was a former Met. I'd assumed they were all long since retired to Florida, far past the statute of limitations, laughing all the way to the bank, where they have all the gold bars, jewelry, and negotiable securities they stole stashed in safe deposit boxes. At age 65, Butner had to be the last Met, or so I figured, from the final freewheeling felon from that infamous crew of cutthroats. But I was wrong. It turns out Butner was a mere street soldier in one of the Met's later pump and dumps, the CDL Flim Flam in Stoughton. And the capo was Sergeant Cederquist, the Met's Met. So my new book comes out in a couple of weeks, and I've already spotted one error in it. I called Butner the last Met. Wrong. But if mass corruption goes to a second printing, I'm not going to hand over that coveted title to Cederquist. Who knows who the last Met is going to be? Even if very few remain on the job, surely some Mets and emeriti are still wandering around out there doing what they do best, shoplifting or robbing poor boxes or some such thing. Once you start stealing, it's hard to stop, especially if you're a cop. A few weeks ago, a politician who had studied the state police very carefully suggested to me that the only solution to this endless corruption is to put the whole department into receivership under some Dudley Do-Right type character. That sounds reasonable until you think about it. You put the troopers into receivership, and the next thing you know, the above reproach receiver will be down on Northern Avenue during the perp walk like Cederquist and Butner and so many other crooked cops before them. Once a Met, always a Met. XOXO, Howie Carr. Order Howie's new book, Mass Corruption Volume 1, The Cops, at howiecarrshow.com/store. Should I do that again, Howie, in case you want to use my second take in your promo? Because my voice is actually in his promo. Order Howie Carr's, let me start again, back to one. Order Howie's new book, Mass Corruption Volume 1, The Cops, at howiecarrshow.com/store. That, as always, Howie Carr keeps us laughing because, as you know, if we don't laugh, we're going to cry. My chat froze up. Did your chat freeze up? If everyone would please smash the like button, that would be really super awesome of you. It helps the algorithm. And hit the subscribe button because, it's free. And there's that. Ms. Parks in the house said, I thought you were looking for a picture of us from the fundraiser until you said, this is the puss I expected, referring to the judge's face. Yeah, no, the judge's face. I don't put up pictures of us out there online. No, I don't need people coming for you or me. And as I recall, the pictures with me and them were not great. Because, they find the one bad picture of you in horrific lighting, and then they try and make you look at 10 times uglier, and then they put it up on Twitter, and they repost it all over the place. You know who I'm talking about, who does that. Charissa gifted a membership. Thank you, sweetheart. You are very, very, very sweet. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns before we wrap this up? Anybody who sent me an email that you were blocked, I will look into it when I'm done here. And then I usually send an email back saying you are all set. So if anybody does go to the Shawn Souza hearing tomorrow, please keep in touch. Let me know that you're going to go. For those of you who want to listen to the trial, I will order the recordings tonight. And sometimes they get them to me right away. So maybe I have them by tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you, Lupus Lady, for buying me a matcha latte. Says, I wish it could be a bottle of wine. You deserve it out of the jerks today. Thank you for all you do. You're amazing. And you know what's so funny is that those are only the jerks that you see are the ones that are in the chat. You don't see all the other ones that are not in the chat. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And if you are blocked, you need to send me the actual link to your actual channel. The actual link to your actual channel. Not a screenshot, not your username, because none of that stuff works. It has to be like the actual chat. The most blessed Gigi on earth. Thank you for your 10. Says, I'm just going to say, YouTube is pissing me off. Been here for over 4 or 5 months. They unsubscribed me. I resubscribed, and now I cannot even chat. Also, I had the best subscription. That's because I had to set the chat to a very long period of time today because of the horrific trolls that were here. So I apologize, but maybe you weren't here when I said that. And so I don't know why they keep doing that, but maybe if you could find out, let me know. I mean, they've been doing it on a lot of channels. They've been unsubscribing people on a lot of channels, and you're not the only one. But thank you for your endless support. I love you. If that makes up for it, I hope it does. I can't open myself and my family up to any more vile, stalking, trolling, repulsive things that are going on. I just can't do it. All right, everyone. Thank you to the moderators today because it was 2.5 hours on this stream. It was like an hour on the other one. So like 3.5 hours of doing the Lord's work out there. You guys are amazing. You're the best. Yeah, YouTube did crash yesterday, Tina Lucille. That might have had an effect on a lot of people. And also, they've been doing it for years, says Ms. Mojo Rising. It is relentless, says Scooter54. And look at all these members with the yellow. If you have a red velvet cupcake, that means you've been a member here for over a year. So thank you, Robin Rose, Scooter54, Ms. Mojo Rising, Carol. You guys have been with me for over a year. Scooter, Charlie Lynn, geez, Linda Lane, Sherilyn. I love you. I love you all with all of my heart. I don't know what we're going to cover tomorrow. Let's see how much gas I have left after this horrific, and who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the day today. And that's why I don't wade in the cesspool of Twitter or engage on there. And I suggest that you guys don't either. But in the meantime, stay cool, stay kind, stay classy so you can do it. I know you can. No, you can. All right. I will talk to you tomorrow. Make sure you have all your notifications set. And whatever. If you don't like other creators, I don't need to hear about it. You don't need to put it in the chat. We don't do that here. But thank you for your thoughts and concerns. But not really. You're better than that. Peace. Bye.